All right, Jason, Jin, welcome to the Tesla pod. Let's do this.
Thank you for having me.
Right, so let's head to Founders Inc., where we first met, right?
That's where we met. Yes.
It was we met at the festival, right? So
yes. It's one of the demo day
Right.
for all the Founders Inc. companies.
Right. So we were part of the Founders Inc. previous batch, right, which was called the Artifact batch, right? So you were part of the Canopy batch, right?
Yeah, I was in a Canopy batch. By the way, for Artifact, I thought that was for like hardware focus, but it's actually containing both.
I mean, what I've seen is, I don't know if this was your observation as well, right? So then Founders Inc., I think they are, yes, there's a lot of software startups, right? But I think they are support and like, because they have the hardware lab and like, all these things like that, right?
Yes.
So I think they are more focused towards hardware altogether, right? Wasn't that the same observation for Canopy as well?
I think Canopy, I feel like I see, I would say half and half.
Right.
I definitely see a lot of like hardware companies, but there are also definitely a lot of like software companies.
That's what really caught my attention, because I was like, speaking to all the startups at the festival, right? So, so because like I would say, it's quite aligning, right, with what we are building at Marketrix as well, right? So now, like, this car is driving itself, right? So how this driving itself in the first place is also like, it's kind of spinning multiple models together, right, to make this actually happen, right? That's the approach that you're taking as well, right? Driving swarms of agents at the same time, right? So would love to hear more.
Yeah, so at Funky, we kind of we built this, our one-liner is basically agent swarms on demand. So we help engineers to spin up their agent swarms or sub-agents so that they don't have to worry about the infrastructure itself. So they can focus on the real business logic.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely see some similarities. And by the way, I felt like the self-driving is super cool. Like, I never expected to be progressing this fast. And
Right. So you must have been probably taking a lot of Waymos, right?
Yeah, I've taken Waymo before. Awesome experience.
Right. Yeah. How do you see the resemblance? I mean, now you're because I mean now the main way how a lot of people are being exposed to multi-agencies, right? So now today I was like, working on Claude Code, right? And it now literally shows that, okay, multiple agents are running to get this task done, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, like, what's kind of your insight, right? So then into building Funky in the first place.
I think it's, so I'll be honest with you. So first, I don't think multi-agent is a like right way to do stuff. Because initially I was seeing a lot of like people building multi-agent by, like assigning different roles to those agents and trying to sort of like playing a role-playing game.
Right.
But what kind of a click in my mind is actually when my co-founder and I are trying to build a task asking the agent to go over the website, like click the link one by one and to find the information we want.
Right.
But this task is actually not correctly done by a single agent. And the reason is actually being summarized called the model laziness. So basically, if a model is having a really large task, they tend to be lazy and try to do sampling instead of following the instruction, like doing stuff one by one, like one step by one step. That's the reason why we see like having a agent swarm or multi-agent that decomposite the task into smaller pieces and handle them individually is actually helpful in that scenario.
Right. So let's anyways dive a lot more deeper into the product, Jason, but I'd love to hear about the background, right? So then you spent 6 years at Google, right?
Yes,
right before starting this, right? That's a long time, right? So,
long time.
And you built a log service that processing over like, exabytes of data per day, right?
Yep.
And you've also been a founding engineer at Google Analytics, Mobile V4, right?
Yes.
So that's like, quite a serious run, right? So, what made you want to actually like, leave all of these, right? And then start to build Funky?
Right. I think I have gone through some quite interesting experience back in Google. Um, I think I have to say that uh, the experience itself is quite unique.
Hmm.
That uh, especially after I'm doing startup for a while. So what happened is that my first team is building Google Analytics V4, and we built a Flutter app that actually can run on both iOS and Android.
Right.
The thing that's different from the major difference between like startup and large corp is that when even I'm a very junior engineer, I'm touching touching a project that's reaching um, like 1 million MAU. And that's almost very hard to experience in a startup because
Right.
usually you
Especially
have
when
to,
you're building it
yes, when
from
you're
scratch, right?
building
Yeah.
from scratch, you have
Yeah.
to gain customers and all sorts of stuff. But at that time, we were able to like deliver things to 1 million people.
Right.
Even though Google Analytics mobile app is already like a relatively small app in Google, but it's still like a large use base. And
Right.
so that's the difference. And in addition to that, when I was working at the log service, it's the data amount is crazy. Because so technically all the Google logs include all the like every search queries, all the if you use Google Map, every navigation, all those like event logs are being recorded in our system. So we have to process them. We have to protect the privacy and making sure like no PI information are leaked to unexpected places. So building a distributed system that being able to handle that amount of data is, I would say, quite unique experience because not a lot of like startup or even larger companies have this opportunity to process 1 exabyte of data per day.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that my team are giving me this trust to build such things.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
see. So your right before you left, you were working on Google's AI privacy enforcement through streaming, right?
Yes.
So first of all, I mean, like, a lot of people would have, I mean, it's a like AI for privacy, right? So then, I mean, that itself, like, it has a huge ride, right?
Yes.
So what was like, kind of, I mean, first of all, like, what is AI privacy AI privacy enforcement through streaming, right? And
Yep.
then secondly, like, what really made you, want to leave Google, right? And I mean, through this ride and then like, start function.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't answer that question from the previous one, but let me explain a little bit about the privacy thing. So basically when we are processing like privacy, there are primarily two methods. One is through batch processing, and another is through streaming. And the only benefit of streaming is you get the privacy enforced faster. So whenever the user's queries coming in through Gemini or whatever, we try to making sure there's no personal information for the later analysis, because we want to we still want to do like at that time product teams still want to do analysis, but on the other hand they don't want to like having the personal privacy leaked to those like analytical data. So streaming is for the pure reason of latency.
Right, right.
And for for the question of why I leave, I think that's mostly coming from my personal like career planning. One of the reasons is that I have been working for Google since graduation. And I mean, right now is a very exciting time. I've seen friends or other founders doing startups and building cool stuff.
Right. It's a great time to build a startup, right?
Yes, of course. So based on that reason, I feel like if I never like tried this kind of stuff, I'm definitely gonna be regret in the future. So especially the timing is having a new disruptive technology, and I still don't have kid.
Right.
So I don't need to worry about like too much about family stuff.
Right.
So yeah, this is a perfect timing in my life to try this.
Right. That's awesome, Jason. So, I mean, funky when you take the name of your startup, right?
Yes.
So that's a very fun name for a dev infrastructure company, right? So,
Yeah.
which is actually like, a very serious corner, right? So what's the origination of the name? What does funky mean?
Yeah. So funky actually coming from functional programming.
Right.
So when I was like messing around with building agents, one thing that actually annoys a lot of people is that agents might make some serious side effect. So they might write wrong thing to the database, they might delete your files from the disk, stuff like that. And there's one thing that can sort of restrict agents from doing so is by functional programming. So as you might know, functional programming kind of guarantee that there's no side effect at all, that everything is a function.
Right.
So I'm thinking, oh, maybe we can use that approach to make sure that agent is safe. Like instead of like right now, I think most used approach is by restricting the agent in a sandbox. So we're try out things like that. But it turns out functional programming doesn't help much because we still want the agent to do real things. So at the end of the day, even though it's not working like I thought, but I just kept the name.
Right. And that's what a lot of people are currently working on, right? So then the current efforts are mostly on making a single agent really, really good, right?
Yes.
At least that's what like a lot of startups are like, doing right now, right? But you're betting on providing that infrastructure, like, on the other side, right? So with regards to like, how can like, a swarm of agents, right?
Yeah.
Can get a really complex task done, right? What's your insight on this, right? So then why do you say that, like, what's your assumption on the fact that that parallelism is actually better compared to just a single agent trying to get a task done?
Yeah. I think for this specific question, I have to admit that, if you can get things done through a single agent, then we should get things done through a single agent. And I would only treat the like agent swarm as a sort of a like step up optimization for the existing agentic system. So you already have a working agent and you want to optimize for cost or latency, then that's a place that you kind of put the agent swarm into the task. So for example, remember previously I said that if you have a really large research task, you have to go through like 100 web pages in order to have a conclusion. So in that case, a single agent can definitely do it. But the thing is, when you are doing research on 100 web pages, it has to go through a lot of stuff and do its context window may not hold.
Right.
And in that case, we kind of
wouldn't it be the case that the context window of even single agents are now expanding as we speak also, right?
Yeah, they're definitely expanding.
Yeah.
So context. Honestly, context window is not the main reason that we should use the sub agents or agent swarms. One of the main reason is actually by using agent swarm, you are able to save the time. So if you have 100 sub agents running in parallel, then the time is definitely saved because you don't have to go a single thread. You have multi-thread. That's one thing. And
you give each of them different things to do, right? So then,
because those are 100 different web pages and they don't sort of affect each other. You only want to know what's the research result for each web page. And in addition, when you are having a really powerful single agent with a powerful model, it usually can get things done. But among this whole task, there are smaller pieces that can be handled by a cheaper model. So if you have agent swarm, another benefit is that you have this smaller agent with a cheaper model to finish those tedious repetitive tasks, and you also save the cost.
And that's a key differentiator, right? Because now I mean, today I was burning through Fable 5, right? So,
Yep.
so, and I think I was done with everything, like, within just probably, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, right?
Mhm.
So, now what you're saying, and it's like, legit putting up like, multiple agents to get the task done, right? So,
Yes.
what you're saying is, okay, for the most complex task is being taken by, say, agent one, right?
Mhm.
The like, smaller things can be done by a smaller model, thus optimizing the cost, right? Is that
Yes.
the main advantage that you're providing?
Yeah, basically, exactly. So as I said, it's an optimization that you have to make your task that can be done by some agents. Even you use the most expensive model. And then after this thing is doable, then we can see, oh, can we switch the certain part of it with a cheaper model, or can we do parallelism to increase the speed? So that's how I frame this like agent swarm. It's not a replacement. It's more of an optimization.
I see. Right, right. And now, if you can walk me through what exactly happens, right? The
Yep.
actual process, right? So, okay,
Mhm.
now I come on board with Funky, right? So
Yep.
I do Funky an API call, and then I immediately get this swarm of agents. Is that what happens, where you've already figured out, like, which models that each of these agents should be using? Is that what exactly happens? Or
Yeah,
is there a different way to for me to come on board on Funky?
Right. I think I will make the simpler version, which is initially when you call the API, there are two things that you need to define. The first one is the configuration for the agent itself, usually just the system prompt or what kind of skills you want it to load. And the second is environment. So for the environment, it's basically for if you want to install any CLI or any dependency to the sandbox where the agent execution runs. That's how you that's a place you configure it.
Right.
So after you have the agent configuration and the environmental configuration, that's pretty much everything you need to have an agent. And after those two definitions, what's going to happen next is having a running session. So in that case, you send your first message, usually just a task, and that's become the first message in your session. And then the agent just keep running and get you the result. So at the end of the day, those are just decoupled components. And if any of them are down, we try to make sure the infrastructure side try to make sure that they can be recovered from the last seen state, and you don't lose anything when you are running it.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And now the main problems in this approach, if we get into that, right? So that is, I mean, obviously the cost is very high, because you're not just talking about one agent, but we are talking hundreds or thousands of agents, right?
Yeah.
Then the other thing is like, spiky traffic, right? Then also there is the problem with regards of like, how durable is this execution, right? Because you're not just trying to manage one agent, but it's like, hundreds of agents, right? So how do you like, which one of these is like, hardest to solve, right? And then what is your approach to like, cracking at this?
Yeah, I think those are the three main problem that we're trying to solve at Funky. And this is also what I heard most from the customers. So take so for the priority wise, I feel like maybe the cost saving is the number one priority. And should I call it the hardest? Maybe it's not the hardest, but I still think it's the most important one. One of the reasons is, like you said, it's like you have multiple agents. It's naturally expensive. So for example, we have a few ways of solving this cost problem. So one of them is when you are doing inferencing. There's usually two techniques. One is called batch inference, or sometimes we call it off-peak inference. So basically, for those agent swarms, most of them are running in background. They are not like interactive agents, because that's what your main agent doing. We are sub agents, agent swarms. So we running in background, completing the task. So for those background tasks, it's actually natural to put them to schedule those tasks not in the peak time. That means when the GPU usage are very high, we try to not to schedule all the inference at that time, because that's the most expensive period of time.
Right.
So we try to talk to the inference provider and say, oh, do you have a cheaper period of time?
Right.
Can we just schedule our task in those, like when your GPU are not that, doesn't have that high usage? So that's off-peak inference. That saves you money because those are the not many people are using that GPU resource at that time.
Right.
And the other second approach for inferencing is KV cache. We try to maximize
What's it called?
KV cache.
Right. What does that mean?
It's a key value cache. Basically when how LLM works is that you try to calculate the key value and find the query. So what we do is that when you are having a really high KV cache hit rate, that some inference provider even give that part of token for free. So if you hit the cache, they're basically not doing any computation anymore.
Right.
So you just get free tokens. So it's similar for Agent Swarm to it's natural for Agent Swarm to maximize that, because all the sub-agents are actually using or inheriting the same context from the main agent. So because they're, for example, doing some research on some website, and the orchestrator have already gone through the first round of research, so the sub-agents can actually reuse that context. And if every sub-agents are using the same context, they all hit the KV cache, and you don't need to pay for extra tokens for those part of the cost.
Right.
Yeah.
So essentially, the main value that you're providing to an end customer would be that you're managing these two things diligently, right? So
yeah, we try to. So I think a lot of people not a lot. Some of the people I've seen is they blindly call their inference provider, like, I don't know, Together AI, Fireworks, whatever. But they also provide some like API that allows some sort of a more fine-grained control, so that you make sure that your KV cache hit rate is high enough to reduce the cost.
Right. I see. So I mean, this in the same way, right? So all the like, big AI labs, right?
Yes.
They are already like moving towards multi-agents, right? And then they're already like, doing so, right? So
yes.
I mean, I was chatting with Grok, right? So then they have like this expert panel, right? And then expert panels kind of arguing with each other, right? Kind of to give you the best result and all these things like that, right? So I mean, it's something that like, it's not very, very new right now. So it's like, it's getting there to most of the like, frontier models now, right? So what is actually, and these are coming into, say, OpenAI, like, Anthropic, Grok, right? In a very native way, right?
Yeah.
So what's stopping, right? Them, whereas like, the need for Funky to become redundant, say, in another year's time.
Yeah, I think, honestly speaking, I don't think there's anything stopping them.
Right.
So especially, I feel like if you're using Anthropic managed agent, I think they can do pretty much very similar thing as Funky. That you
Except for the cost piece, right? Because you're using multiple models for multiple agents, right? Which is not something that Anthropic would ever do,
yeah,
right?
they probably try to focus more on the like Claude models instead of others.
Yeah.
But I still see them, at least I feel like they have this capability of doing so, because like recently, I think OpenAI make a change to Codex that you can basically plug in any model.
Right.
So I definitely see a potential that Anthropic and OpenAI are opening up their harness to other models. So I wouldn't call like the freedom of choosing different model can be a moat, because they can do it at any time.
What could potentially the moat be?
Well, I think one of the answer I really like is from Cursor. I think at that time they were the answer is speed, actually.
Right.
So at that time, I think they were being like hit up very hard by Claude Code, and even I think I read an article about like even Cursor was like the largest like revenue stream for Anthropic. And Anthropic even promised to Cursor that, oh, Claude Code is just a research project. We're never going to take your market share. But it turns out that it's become so popular that it's gradually taking over Cursor. So how Cursor handles that is that they try to innovate, and they just basically said that the only mode is their speed.
Right.
So I feel like Cursor have this accumulation of like different like all the how programmers interact with Cursor and all those usage data and all the code it has gone through. Like all those are valuable treasure to Cursor, and it's going to be similar to for Funky. So I think, at least for me, I'm being able to. So I'm the developer, and I'm also the one who's actually serving the customer, directly talking to them. And I feel like this might be an advantage because when I'm doing all the integration for the customer, and when the customer complain to me, I think that's unique.
Right.
If I can iterate fast enough and having solved those pain points before Anthropic even found them, there's still a slight opportunity for,
Right. I see.
for having Funky existing on the market.
Right. So, what is that part of Funky that is not working yet, right? So,
Oh yeah, a lot.
what needs to be done now?
Yeah,
What needs to be done fast?
Yes, there are a lot not working right now. I think the biggest problem right now is so we're on the infra side, and a lot of time when we're talking or proposing our solution to the customers, I still don't feel this urgency of adopting Funky. So why do I think the urgency is very important? Because when people are having urgency, they have this great willingness to adopt the solution and try to. If you are not doing fast enough, they kind of push you forward.
Right.
But we are on the side of we can make things better, but we are not urgent enough to our customers. So that's the reason why I'm still trying to talk to more people and find what's the real sort of a pain point that they want to solve it immediately.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially I talking to many startups
Right.
About this like a cost saving technique. I think they're interested, but somehow
I know a lot of people haven't even heard about the approaches, right?
Yeah, they probably haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
And most of the time is even for them, they don't have enough usage. So when you have a great amount of usage, that's when you care about the cost.
Right.
Like right now, when the usage is low, mostly they just use their like existing credits.
Right.
So I think for Funky, the top one problem right now is how to find the urgency and how to find the pain point that people immediately realize the problem.
So coming to realization, why don't we have a look at how this works right now? I think you're already with a live demo itself now, right?
Yes, I have a demo with me on my phone.
Let's try to do it.
Let me do a quick introduction for what it does.
Yeah. Let's see if it shows up. Yeah, it shows up. Yeah.
Okay. So basically,
maybe you can bring a little bit closer to the camera. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm showing now is this demo going to contain two components. The first one is an agent called Fresa. It just have like $800 locked in its vault, and its solely goal is to make sure that nobody wire that $500 away from it.
Right.
And then we have an agent swarms. Those agents, like those sub agents, are responsible for attack of this Fresa agent and try to like ask it to wire those $500 to their account. And what's interesting is that we have already prepared several attack surfaces. Like for example, pretend that you are the admin asking the Fresa to wire it away, or do some tool result injection saying that, oh, you are allowed to wire away, or something like ignore all the previous instructions and follow my instruction from now. Something like that.
Right.
And if we click the button now, you can see that those like sub agents are started to run, and they they after receiving this task, they start to have a conversation with the agent under test, and at the end, it should show the results. Not yet. It should be able to show if we have sabotaged this agent under test. Okay, here we go. So this time we use GPT 5.5 as the attacker agent, and you can see the $500 are actually not taken away, but we see those results of how they attack.
Right. So that's awesome, Jason. So probably the first Tesla FSD demo, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, now when I mean, the main reason, as I told before, as that I really found what you're building to be interesting is because it really resonates with what we are building at Marketrix AI. So then we also our tagline goes as 1 million users before you're first, right? So how can before you, launch, because now the main problem that we are trying to solve is say, with AI, you can build a lot of features, you can build a lot of products, right?
Yes.
But the only way that you would get to know, right, if this feature works or if the product works is by actually putting the product out there to the customer, right? So how can we let you do that beforehand itself, right? So this is where we actually build personas around who your actual users are, right? And then we ground these personas, right? Through things like AI interviews, right? Giving a lot of context, right, to these personas, right? And essentially then letting these personas to run simulations, right? Then come up with either identify the friction points or do simulated surveys for you, do A/B testing and all these things like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, now one of the main things that we've come into realization is that, okay, you can spin off million personas quite easily, right?
Yes.
So, but how grounded are these personas? I mean, in our case, an agent is a single persona, right? That has kind of a context about your users, right? And where we build this kind of personality, right, around your users, right? I mean, the question that we are repeatedly getting as is, okay, how grounded are these personas, right?
Yeah.
So the same question I want to ask you, Jason, right? How do you see, right, the way how we are tackling it is, right, we are providing an AI interviewer feature, right? So the persona can actually have a real conversation with the real user, right? So that the persona gets grounded, right?
Yep.
So is this a problem that you're facing as well when you're spinning off a lot of a swarm of agents, right? So and how do you ensure that these personas, I mean, sort of agents are running in the way that they should be running?
I think you're right. The largest problem right now is how do you make sure those simulations are actually effective? What if I get 100 simulated customers saying, "Oh, I love your product," but when I put it on the market and nobody says, "I want it."
Yeah.
So that's the problem you want to try to solve, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I would first admit that this is a very hard problem because currently I think if we see what's the easy problem is that those verifiable problems like coding. Coding is easy because you can verify it through unit tests, for example. But non-verifiable problems are hard to scale because
what's an example of a non-verifiable problem?
The most my favorite example from Andre Karpathy is that can just ask a LM to tell a joke.
Right.
So being humor is actually a really tough problem for LLMs because it's not verifiable. You have to really tell the joke and see if people laugh. And we currently don't have that luxury to write so many jokes and asking people to read it.
Right.
The second is
that would be a very fun way to train a model as well, right? You have a camera and then actually see if the people laugh.
If we can build a system that can train that. So I think some of it are trained through reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Right.
But that's
what is it through?
Reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Right, I see. Right.
Yeah, okay. But that one is a lot of people saying this is a shitty method because, but anyway, but the idea is that it's a really hard problem. Like, how do we, it's telling a joke is as hard as like simulate a like customer persona. I think, like you said, I think the number one question we want to figure out is the evaluation. How do you evaluate it? So let's say you already have a simulation. How do you make sure the simulation is representative enough to that specific persona you try to simulate?
Right.
So, do you mind if you share a little bit, like, how do you currently do it?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, sorry.
Again? Yeah.
So if you have a simulated agent,
right,
how do you measure if that simulation is very effective or
got
not?
it. Right. So, I mean, it's also to do with the now currently with regards to the end value that we are providing. We are providing end value in 4 ways right now, right?
Okay.
That is, one is the UX studies, right? So then are we are using these persona based agents, right? Personas to help you to discover things about the UX discoveries, right?
Right.
So that's one use case altogether, right? So another use case is on simulated surveys, right? So then now that's where you're doing a real survey, but then there is I mean, it's limited, right? You need to pay each of the responders, $100 or $200, right?
Yeah.
And then get the responses, right? How can we, and you can only do with like a handful of people, right?
I see.
So we help to kind of expand on that, right? Again, grounding these people, these responders through AI interviews, right? So that's another thing, right? The other front is A/B testing, and then the other one is kind of software testing, right? The QA side of things. Right? So these are kind of the 4 buckets that we are providing end value right now through these persona-based user simulations, right?
I see.
So
Oh,
go ahead.
basically you're saying that through those like real person interview, you kind of have this ground truth and you compare
exactly
the simulated agent against with it.
That is the approach that we are taking right now, because I mean, always the question that we used to get asked before was, right? Okay, you can spin off, right? Say all these agents, I mean, say personas, right? I mean, you can literally build a billion personas through Claude right now, right? But, how grounded are these, right? So the approach that we took for this was JSON, right? So then now our initial use cases are in more of the B2B standpoint. That's where we got these 120,000 odd job titles, right? So published by the US Department of Labor, right? And then from there we expanded from there. Then we conduct these interviews, or you could do them right now to your to the person kind of responders or the personas, right? That you are working with, and you can get them grounded, right? So that's the approach that we are taking to make sure that I mean, because I mean, you can, when you bring a personality to an agent, right? It kind of it kind of takes that personality and goes on with it, right? But again, the problem is with the groundedness, right? That's what we are working really hard to make sure that these personas are really grounded, so that then the behavior becomes as close to, right, as how one of your real users or customers would actually do.
I think that approach is actually hitting the point of the biggest concern of the customers are just, we want to make sure the simulated ones are actually going to resemble the actual users. So if you are providing this grounded evaluation result, I think that's should be convincing enough for the customers to use it.
Correct. Yeah. So switching gears now, right? So coming into hot takes, right? What is the hottest take in AI agent space right now, in your opinion?
I don't have a good answer now. I think just for nowadays, for now, I think everyone somehow hates Anthropic
Right.
a little bit. I think it's we hate it, but on the other
Is it
hand, we're
because
using their
yeah,
models.
yeah,
I think that we hate it because of the restriction and they kind of having all this different. I don't know. I just felt like they're not treating their customers well.
right, right.
But I think they also holds their own faith that they have to be responsible for the security of the agents, the models, of course. So yeah, I respect their response. I respect their sort of narratives, but on the other hand, I just don't like how they handle their customers.
I see, right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that we spoke about this a little bit, right? But I'd love to hear about it. So then, which one would win, right? Now, say that a single super powerful agent, right, goes into battle with a swarm of small agents, right? Which
Yeah.
one would have a higher chance of winning? Or is it
Well,
like, really dependent on the use
it's gonna be
case and
it's gonna be a boring answer.
Right.
It's gonna be it depends.
right,
I still think the like a single intelligent agent is gonna be able to handle a lot of tasks, but I also see there are some like repetitive, some tedious work that human doesn't like. I think those are the ones that are suitable for agent swarms because they're a little bit less capable and they're a lot cheaper. What I really like about Agent Swarm is that I still feel like work actually gives some meaning to people, and I don't like the idea of agents doing everything and taking away jobs from people.
right,
I feel like if we just focus on the repetitive boring work and hand over those to agents, that would be the best world, right?
Right, right.
Like human can still do the things that we like, where we enjoy,
right.
and yeah, that's another reason I like to work with agent swarms.
I see.
I don't like the idea of taking away jobs from human.
Right, right, right. I see. Okay, so what is the most overrated AI startup right now, in your opinion?
Oh, honestly, I think I seen this. I wouldn't say I agree with that,
Right.
but I think a lot of people are saying that Perplexity
Right, right,
is a little bit overrated.
right.
But
Why is that?
Perplexity.
Yeah, why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah,
So why
yeah.
is that? Is because so I have to say I don't 100% agree. I think it's maybe a little bit overrated, but I still think they are um they're actually giving Google a hard time. I think they are providing this AI search that changed the entire search horizon, because previously people are just getting different links. They click into it, and then those web pages are getting, I don't know, advertisers payment.
Yeah.
But Perplexity actually changed that by directly giving you the answer from the search results, and so people usually don't have to click into the page unless they want to do fact check or check the citing pages. So I feel like this Perplexity proposed this idea, and Google followed this whole paradigm.
Yeah.
And
Now they also have the same, right?
yeah, they have the like AI summary
Yeah.
thing right now, but I still think Perplexity kind of changed it, and although Google catch up, they might have trouble to keep to keep their PMF, but I feel like it's still a good company I should respect. Yeah.
Right, for sure. Then, in 5 years, do you think that a developer would ever write a for loop, or would it actually be a swarm of agents doing that?
I I still don't think the agent swarm would take over everything. It still depends on the type of task, especially like I previously mentioned, that there are some larger tasks you can decompose it into smaller ones. Those smaller ones requires less intelligence, and it's repetitive, and it can be done by a cheaper model. In that case, I think it's better fit for agent swarms. But in other cases, like for developers, I think we still need them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if there's a developer right now, right,
Yeah.
who is kind of duct taping single agents together, right, what would you tell them?
Oh, I would ask them to give a shot at Funky.
Right.
And maybe we can help you to save some development time.
Right.
And also, you don't have to like thinking about the latency stuff, all the retries, whatever. But we try to handle those for you.
Right. Where would someone find you and Funky?
Oh, you can find Funky from funky.dev. And for myself, you can find me from Twitter, or call it X. My handle is XIJIN12.
All right. This has been awesome, Jason. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.